There's this thing that happens in the first episode of Heated Rivalry that I need to talk about, because I think most of us were so focused on where the episode was going that we completely missed what was being said. It's actually just a commercial shoot, but before we get to that moment, let me kind of properly set the scene, because context is very important. So 6 months earlier, Ilya and Shane had that moment in the hotel gym that we're all so obsessed with, but it's been 6 months now and they're both in Toronto for this commercial shoot, and this is what we know about them at this point. And it's that Ilya's the number one draft pick. He's cocky. He's the guy everyone's talking about. In every interview, he leans into the rivalry angle. He talks about scoring 50 goals, being the best, and all of that. And this is kind of like his brand. He's sort of like the arrogant foreign player who doesn't play by anyone's rules. But when you see him alone, there's something else to him. There is kind of a darkness, and then we get to see his family dynamic, and his dad is terrible, his brother's terrible. There's kind of this heaviness to him, and he's isolated in a way that has nothing to do with being in a new country. Shane is the opposite. He's the complete opposite. He's Canada's golden boy. He's completely, totally media trained. He says the right thing. His family's supportive. His mom wants him to be a role model. Everything about his public image is pristine and controlled, and he's kind of the player everyone's supposed to love. And the league sees this, and obviously because they're such incredible players, the league wants them to be enemies. So every interview is designed to stoke that fire. The media is constantly pushing them to trash talk each other. Their entire dynamic is supposed to just be the rivalry and competition and animosity. So they're at this commercial shoot in Toronto, and it's the first time that we see them interact as actual people outside of the managed public figures. And this exchange kind of happens that I think is just so important, and I don't hear a lot of people talk about it. And it's when Ilya asks Shane, and he kind of says something along the lines of, when did they tell you we were doing this shoot together? And Shane says, 2 days ago. Why? When did they tell you? And Shane tells him, no, they told me nothing. It was my idea. And that single line just changes everything, at least in my opinion. Ilya didn't just show up to do a job. He didn't get assigned to work with Shane. He specifically requested this. He went to whoever coordinated these commercial shoots and said, I want to work with Shane Hollander. He made this happen. And more than that, he tells Shane he made it happen. He doesn't have to do that, but he wants him to know. So he tells him. Shane could have just assumed it was, just scheduling or just how things worked out, or just the league capitalizing on their rivalry for marketing. But Ilya wants Shane to know it was deliberate, that he chose this. And the reason this is so massive to me is, with everything we know about Ilya at this point, we're talking about a guy who plays everything super close to his chest. He hides behind this cockiness and careful distance. He basically spends the entire season unable to be emotionally honest about anything. When you think of the fact that Ilya doesn't admit that he wants things, he never admits he wants things. He doesn't make himself vulnerable. He doesn't let people see what he's feeling, except he does in this moment. Sort of like a confession. Ilya is telling Shane, I thought about you enough over this 6 months that I needed to see you again. I couldn't wait for our teams to play each other. I couldn't let it just be nothing. So I created a reason for us to be in the same room. That to me is just massive coming from Ilya. And if you think about it, at this point, Ilya has no idea how Shane feels. That moment in the gym could have been nothing to Shane. It could have just been two competitive athletes pushing each other and nothing more. And for all Ilya knows, Shane hasn't thought about him once in the 6 months. And now he's admitting that he thought about Shane enough to orchestrate this entire reunion. That's terrifying. That's like putting yourself out there in a way that leaves you like completely exposed. And Ilya does it anyway. And when you think about it, from this point on, Ilya spends years struggling to tell Shane what he means to him. He spends years keeping Shane at arm's length emotionally while desperately needing him physically. And he fights against every feeling he has. This moment is as vulnerable as he knows how to be. It feels to me like saying, you matter to me and I wanted to see you and this wasn't random and you were a choice I made. And you can kind of see it land on Shane's face. Shane is like super surprised by this admission, and you can see that moment where he's just like, wait, because Shane's been spending these 6 months watching Ilya's interviews, following his career, unable to stop thinking about him as well, and he assumed he was alone in that, and that whatever he felt was like one-sided. But it, like, that confirmation, you can see the surprise in his face. He's so shocked that it's kind of, you know, in a way, like the attention is reciprocated. And just the fact that Ilya could have kept it vague. He could have let Shane think the league put this together. He could have like maintained some plausible deniability, and instead he chose to be honest. It's just, to me, those words, "it was my idea," sound like "I haven't stopped thinking about you," or "I miss you," or "I couldn't wait any longer to see you again," or "you're not an accident or a convenience, you're like someone I choose." And for that early on, it's just so special. And I feel like Shane doesn't fully understand at that point what he's being offered yet. He's like too early into his own journey of figuring out what he wants or what this thing between them could be. But Ilya knows, and maybe not consciously, but maybe not with words, but somewhere Ilya knows that this person matters, that 6 months was too long, that he had to do something. And when you watch the rest of the season, when you see how hard they fight against their feelings and how much they hurt each other, trying to keep things as manageable and secret and not too real, this moment becomes so heartbreaking because Ilya was honest here. He was direct. He admitted he wanted change in his life, and it'll take them years to get back to that kind of honesty. But it was there in episode 1, in a casual like conversation. He was truthful. To me, Ilya said, "I love you." In the only language he had access to at the time, he basically like declared his love. We just weren't listening carefully to hear it, but it's so special to me.